Well, good morning. Today I have just a very short presentation on the third verse of the Sefer Yetzirah from the very first chapter. And it's not all that long, so let me see if I can share my screen here. Here we go. Okay, we're good to go. So this is Sefer Yetzirah, Book of Creation, 1.3, first chapter, third verse. And as usual, I've got the Hebrew here, followed by the late Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan's translation, and then my own translation. So Kaplan translates this as 10 sefirot of nothingness, and the number of 10 fingers, 5 opposite 5, with a singular covenant precisely in the middle, in the circumcision of the tongue and in the circumcision of the membrane. Okay, that refers to the male genitals. And then my translation, of course, in my commentary on verse 2 in this chapter, in another video, I explain why I believe the word sefirot should be translated as declarations, and a better translation than nothingness for bilima is going to be constraint. Okay, so essentially I'm saying 10 declarations of constraint in number, 10 fingers, 5 against 5, and a unifying alliance oriented in the middle, in the cut of the tongue and in the cut of the flesh. Again, referring to the circumcision. Okay, and of course, these 10 declarations of constraint, that once again, it refers back to these 10 utterances in the first chapter of Genesis, through which God creates the world. And he restrains things. He creates boundaries between the land and the ocean. And this is how the creation is brought about. And the basic pattern is once again found in Ecclesiastes 7:14, where most translations say God has made one thing against the opposite, another. I translated a little bit more literally as this against this made the Elohim, God. And we're giving examples here. We have 10 fingers, but it's 5 against 5. And then we also have this principle of something that allows for interaction between these two opposites, and that is the unifying alliance, oriented in the middle. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Now, as I've been saying, the fundamental pattern in the created universe is always that of two opposites connected by an intermediary that allows dynamic communication and interchange to occur. And of course, in the human body, a natural anatomical division is 5 fingers opposite 5 on the hands. As for the tongue, it can be thought of as either the intermediary between the left and right hemispheres of the brain, and it expresses the result of the coordination of the two, or you can think of it as the intermediary between the brain and the outside world. And in the Talmud, we read about the difficulties involved in controlling the tongue. So let me read this passage for you from Tractate Arachin, page 15b. Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Joseph ben Zimra, "What is the meaning of, what shall be given to you, and what shall be done more to you, you deceitful tongue?" That's from Psalm 123. Well, in the Talmud it continues, "The Holy One, blessed be he, said to the tongue, all members of the human body are standing. You are lying. All members of the human body are outside. You are guarded inside. Not only that, but I surrounded you with 2 walls, one of bone, the teeth, and one of flesh. What shall be given to you? What shall be done more to you, you deceitful tongue?" So obviously the import of this is, God has tried to put a lot of restraints upon our tongue, but it still gets loose. It still causes a lot of trouble. What more can be done? Now, the circumcision of the tongue refers to the need for control and restraint in one's speech. Similarly, one could think of the male sexual organ as physically being another tongue, and it serves as the intermediary between the opposites of male and female during sexual union. Furthermore, the text suggests that the male organ also needs to be constrained and controlled. And what do we gain by such control? Well, we actually get freedom from that. Through regulation of our thoughts and desires, we gain the power to make our own decisions rather than becoming a slave to our immediate whims and desires. Furthermore, the text suggests at this point that the intermediary between the two opposites is always to serve as a control or regulatory mechanism between the energies of the two poles. We often think of freedom as being able to do whatever the heck we want to do. But actually, it's more complicated than that. If we don't have control over ourselves, we don't really have freedom. We're being controlled by our desires, by our whims. Not that desires and whims are necessarily bad, but we do need to be able to say no to them at some times. And that is what control gives us. It gives us the power to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do something else. It gives us the freedom to make our own choices rather than just being buffeted about by whatever the strong currents we find ourselves in. And so this intermediary, it serves not only to allow communication between the opposites, it also is an avenue through which we can control those opposite poles within us. And let me end with this final slide here, which says something about control. First from Proverbs 16:32. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. And in Pirkei Avot, Chapters of the Fathers, chapter 4, verse 1, Ben Zoma said, who is wise? He that learns from every man. Who is mighty? He who subdues his evil inclination. Who is rich? He that rejoices in his lot. Who is honored? He that honors every one of his fellows. Okay, so bottom line, we're seeing once again this pattern of one thing opposite another with an intermediary between appearing in this verse. The Sefer Yetzirah gives several examples of this. But we also learned that if we want to be free, we need to have some control over ourselves. So don't be at the mercy of everything around you. Don't always get caught up in the drama of what's going on out in the world. Learn how to step back, observe from afar for a moment, take a pause, and that gives you the ability to exert some control and ask yourself, is this what I really want to do? And if it isn't, well, then you can say no. Okay, well, that's it. Let me stop sharing. And that will conclude this little presentation for today. So next time I'll carry on with verse 4 of chapter 1 of the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation or the book of formation if you prefer. And that's it. Shalom.